about the silence because your host, Eric Auger, and
Yvette Auger.
Today on the show we have a good friend of ours, Christoph J. Wyman. Are you here?
I am. Hi, Eric and Yvette. How are you two today?
Great, thank you. Thanks for being a guest on the show.
Hey, thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, well, we're excited to have you. For the listeners, today we have a treat for you. We have Christoph with us, and Christoph is a published author. He also has seminars and comes from the hospitality industry, which is where I came from as well.
Correct.
Right? So the book, what is the title of the book?
My book is called Getting to Wow. Everybody Wins with 5-Star Service, and I think the title and subtitle says it all.
Yes, it does. It does. Now, this book is, you wrote this book. It is for sale on Amazon, is that right?
That is correct, on Amazon, Getting to Wow. And it's also available through my website, gettingtowowbook.com, and of course at various events that we do around Las Vegas.
Perfect. So, Getting to Wow, tell us a little bit about how you came up with that idea, where it all started, maybe, where you started, because I think there's a lot of your personal experiences in that book.
Absolutely. Where it all started, well, a lot of people are published authors and a lot of people dream of becoming a published author. I don't think most people take 6.5 years to write a book like it took me. But about 6.5 years ago, I was working in the Midwest. And, well, let me back up. I've worked in the hotel and restaurant industry on and off ever since I was 15 years old. I started out working at a local diner, Greek-owned diner in my hometown of Ottawa, Illinois. And I moved on to another local restaurant called Silver Frost. So throughout my high school years, I worked as a server. I went overseas as a volunteer Christian missionary. And so you might think, oh, well, I got out of the business for a while, but actually, ministry is service, so it's all the same thing. And it's actually, when I was working as a Christian missionary in the Philippines, that I realized how much or how important humility is, in the area of service and hospitality, and having a passion for what you do. So after my years in the Philippines, I went to, I worked for the Hyatt and Hotel Nico in Guam, on the island of Guam. There I worked in front desk. I worked as a server, a bartender. I also was a independent wine representative for a small wine and spirits boutique. So I've done a little bit of everything in the industry. And then years later, I had the privilege and pleasure of working with a gentleman you might have heard named Wolfgang Puck. Anybody heard? Yes, of course. We all know Wolfgang Puck. He is obviously synonymous with high-quality, first-class cuisine, first-class events. But in my experience, it's also his service and hospitality that was on par with the quality of his fine cuisine. And it was during that time that I really began to understand what wow service is all about. Putting the guest first. It's not just a series of steps. It's not just following, points in a manual, but it's really about creating an experience for the guest. And that translates into any industry, not just in the food and beverage industry or hotel and restaurant. After working with Wolfgang Puck, I moved to that was in Los Angeles at Hollywood and Highland for his catering and events company. I moved back to the Midwest, and I worked for a couple of independently owned companies, restaurants, and I started to see that there was a gap between what I had experienced previously and what I knew to be possible in terms of creating elevated experiences for your dining guests and what we were implementing at some of those other locations. And it was during that time, so I guess you could say the book grew out of my frustration. And it was almost like I was at a point where, am I crazy? Like, am I really just having such high expectations that this is not really possible? Is it Wolfgang Puck, the only one that ever, executes high levels of service? And I know that the answer was, yeah, of course not. So I sat down and started to pen some notes that eventually became, 6.5 years later, this book, Getting to Wow.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, you said that the book is born out of your own personal frustration.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about exactly what happened. What are the things that you saw?
Just simple things like I was working at an Irish pub. Beautiful new restaurant in downtown St. Louis. I think we just lost connection. Can you hear me still?